So, Kingdom Hearts. That series, where there's like the guy, he's got a sword that looks like a key, and then you got like Disney characters and Japanese anime things all bouncing around, Final Fantasy and all that. The first game came out, what, like 2002 or something? Well, now they're making a third game. I guess they've been working on it for a while, and it's going to come out, I think, this year. I believe. I believe that's what they said at E3. This year? That's like 16 years, man. I mean, imagine with me, if you will, you're a 6-year-old kid, you play, you see Donald, you see Goofy, you see some other little Disney characters, memorable ones like, Chernabog, or you see those and you're playing the game and you're having a good old time, and you beat it, and then 16 years later, you're like, just got out of college, you don't know what the hell you're doing with your life. Anyway, they see like, oh, Kingdom Hearts 3. Yeah, I kind of played that when I was a kid. Why? I guess a lot of people like this. But yeah, maybe he also really liked it. And he's like super excited. He's like, I'll ignore all adult stuff. I'll just go back to playing video games like I was when a kid. So maybe in that way, it's a genius move. But anyway, there's been so many of these Kingdom Hearts games, You got Kingdom Hearts, you got Kingdom Hearts for the Game Boy, you got Kingdom Hearts 2 for the PS2. You got all these like spin-off things, probably games on your phone if you live in Japan, and then there's like the PSP game, you got a 3DS game, and then you got like a PS3 HD collection, and then you got like a PS4 Ground Zeroes Metal Gear Solid Kojima game kind of for I guess this Kingdom Hearts 3. There's a lot of games, and it's spanning over 16 years, and there's some misconceptions. Some people would say to you, well, Kingdom Hearts 2 introduced a lot of the cool new things, and it's the best game ever. But that would be a mistake. That would be a wrong thing to say, and that person should take themselves out the game. Because really, if you look at it, everything that was good about the game initially, it's kind of like if you went back to any original game. If you look at like Metal Gear Solid 1, you look at those first games that, sure, they might not have had all the technology, all the cool graphics, like games were still being developed kind of. They just had, that was kind of the thing, really. It was just better graphics and maybe some cool new gameplay, but like the core ideas, the story, the reason people liked the game is because of the first one. It's not the second one. It's not the second one. So many people led astray by the second game because you can do backflips and flip all around all crazy woo-ha-ha when you're pressing the X button repeatedly. People think that makes the game better, but they would be wrong. Kingdom Hearts 1 is really about a teenager with his friend who's also a teenager. It's about these guys who are bored living in paradise. You live in paradise too long, it kind of becomes a little boring. You live in Hawaii, basically, but without like the volcanoes and all that. You guys are friends, right? Friends. They play games, they hit each other with sticks, they beat their chest, they throw balls into the, hoops, basketball hoop type things, 50 feet away, and they brag about it, just how you be friends, there's a little competition, but you're still friends at the end of the day. And then really it's about them wanting to go out on this adventure, but of course there's this girl, that they both kind of like, or both trying to impress, because that's just how males are. Yeah. So you kind of get like a little bit of where they're coming from, but you're supposed to, identify with Sora because you're controlling him. You're moving him around. You're supposed to be on his side. So Riku kind of seems like the older brother guy who kind of looks down on you. You can be friends, but there's competition in their eyes. So they go off on this grand adventure, and there's a lot of sword fighting. There's magic spells. You fight darkness, You grow really with Sora in a way, like you identify with him because you're kind of showing him things right? You're showing him like, oh yeah, these Disney movies I watched when I was a kid. But I guess you haven't seen them because you're like one of those sheltered kids who lives in Hawaii. So I'm going to show you like, look at all this stuff, look at this, But instead of like watching the movie with him, it's like you throw him into the movie and you see how he reacts. And sometimes the movie plays out just like it did, but sometimes it's a variant, but it's got the same characters, Just like things, you watch when you're a kid, things can get corrupted over time. And in this case, the corruption is represented by this Heartless. So it's like you're watching this old movie that's been corrupted by other people, your viewpoints changing, And then you got this guy who's never seen it. You know, it's like this weird meld. You're watching this thing go on. And that's really what the heart of, Kingdom Hearts 1 is. You're really with Sora, you grow with him. And then at the end, it all comes back and you see his friend that you guys were kind of rivals. And you see you're on different sides, It's kind of more black and white, He's, you're both looking for that chick, that you guys want to like bang, I guess. You're doing it in different ways, but he's stronger than you. He basically takes the Keyblade back from you, and you got to fight him. You got to show like, hey, I've grown as a person in a good way. And then that's how you beat him, You can hit people with swords and magic and do backflips all day, but really, that's really the core of the story. It's really about these two friends and this chick that they kind of become friends with, but, they secretly, want to be with her, not so secretly. And then, they become friends at the end of the day. And that's really what Kingdom Hearts 1 is. It's got that core there. So the rest is just the gameplay mechanics. You do the mini games. You do the Coliseum fights. You do like, you go to a world, you can't get a treasure chest. You come back when you're stronger. You just see the growth. The game's all about growth, which is what RPG should be. But in Kingdom Hearts 2, really, if you just look at the story, they're completely different in the sense, not that they're different bad guys, Organization 13 versus Ansem, which, actually they're kind of the same thing. You find out later, so that's kind of disappointing. They did the whole Metal Gear Solid 2 thing in a way, like not kind of reverse, but kind of the same, where they give you this character you play as in the beginning, you like learn his thing. You go like, oh, okay. So he has wants and feelings and all this, and then he's just gone. And he's gone. He just goes away, and then you're back to Sora, and you're like, what did Sora... What? There's no reason for why you're doing what you're doing. Like, even when, Sora wakes up, he's like, what are we doing? I think that's an actual line. He says, like, so what are we doing again, or where are we going? It's because the whole game, you don't know why you're doing it, It's a sequel to a game that made a lot of money, I guess. But there's no reason for it. You're still like... Why am I doing what I'm doing? I thought I was just trying to get back home, Like, Sora's like, aren't we just trying to get back home? And then he's like, no, we got to find King Mickey and Riku, said Donald. And you're like, oh, yeah. And then you find Mickey like 5 minutes later. And you're like, oh, he seems to be okay? Oh, and I guess Riku, I think, is okay? Okay, wait, so now we just completed our objective again. So what are we doing again? The player knows what to do, right? Because they know about the organization members. They watch the cutscenes, but... Sora, I'm just saying the character Sora, he has no reason to be doing any of the things. He's just dancing around. They come up with this dumb plot device, which is you beat the world, and then an object in the world points you to the next place you're supposed to go just because you're supposed to go there. It's like some object goes in the air, it shines, it's like boom, and then some guy's like, what the fuck just happened? And he's like, that's the path we're supposed to go. And he's like, yeah, but why? And it's just like, well, I'm just reading the lines, man. And that's kind of most of the game until you kind of replay it again. You replay all the worlds, which I guess is a cool idea to have you come back. But it's pretty dumb, because now you're just going back to find out what it is the organization's doing. It kind of makes you think, like, this should have been in the beginning. Like, the second half of the levels, of all the worlds, like, that should have been the first half. So it was like, oh, I want to kill the organization. Instead, you meander around, beat the worlds, and then you run into Mickey again. He gives you exposition, and he says, go do this. The whole Mickey exposition, like, yeah, Ansem actually wasn't Ansem. There's this other guy named Ansem. This Ansem was the dark version of Xehanort, which has the nobody Zemnis, and then he just keeps throwing all this stuff, and you're like, wait, what? Just all we're doing is looking at Mickey saying a bunch of nonsense names that completely undermines the first game or says it was completely different than we thought. And that's just a huge confusion. Like, that was supposed to be the starting of the whole plot thing, right? You basically went from world to world, Disney World to Disney World. Except this time Sora kind of knows these Disney World, like he kind of gets it. You bring the kid over, you show him the movies. Then you meet him like a year later and he's like, oh, I know all these movies now. Trust me, I get how it works.
Sora, Donald, and Goofy!
Sora.
Now I'm just kind of watching you do things, but neither of us know why you're doing it. And then you kind of find out, like, oh, the organization is, like, using Sora to collect hearts to make their own Kingdom Hearts. And you're like, oh, okay, that's the plot of the game. That's interesting now. Now I have something to do. You know, like the first Kingdom Hearts game, I think they laid this down like Traverse Town. Like they give you this exposition. Like you get sat down on a bed really and they tell you what to do and you're like, okay. And then you just go off and you try to do it while also trying to find your friends. You know, it's just very clear cut. Kingdom Hearts 2, it's not. It just dances around. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if they just had trouble setting it up or they're maybe focused on the game mechanics of flipping around whenever you press X. You know, maybe that's what they were a little focused on. Or what's so special about Sora now? In the first game, he was the Keyblade wielder. Everybody called him that. I think they even call him that in like Chain of Memories. Just after, they're like the Keyblade wielder. And then all of a sudden, it's like everybody can be one, you know? I think at this point, even the creator didn't know what was going on really. He just coming up with ideas. I mean, you look at Kingdom Hearts 1, it was technically made by Squaresoft. Kingdom Hearts 2, Square Enix. I think there's some merger thing. Something went on where it was kind of disrupting and wasn't really sure what the priority was. So Riku and Sora fighting at the end, fighting the bad guy, I think that was cool to do. You beat the bad guy. I think the whole idea of a data, like making your own Kingdom Hearts out of like a synthesized one, like I think that's a cool idea. Instead of using the real one since it's so damn hard to get to, I guess. If you look at the mechanics of the game, obviously Kingdom Hearts 2 is more smooth. You get more stylized animations. It's basically a different combat system. I mean, they're still both button mashers. You're slamming on X. But it's kind of all about combat. It's all about like fighting. It's all reacting, you know. Or spamming like these limit moves, you know. So in Kingdom Hearts 1, the limit moves, there weren't really limits. It was kind of like you had Ars Arcanum. Kingdom Hearts 2, it's all like reaction commands. It all gets to that point you're just slamming triangle. You know, they make a lot of the bad guys will have these moves where it like basically almost kills you. So it's all about avoiding those moves and hitting them, avoiding those moves and hitting them. And that's kind of like every boss, you know. I think it's a cool idea to have some bosses, but it seems like all the memorable bosses, it's all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, it's just too easy. And I think it's because they made you so much more capable when you jump around and hit. Like there's more finesse, more smoothness, you know, which would make sense because Sora's getting like, you know, stronger. In a lot of ways, it feels like Kingdom Hearts 2, it's like Super Saiyan 2, you know. You had like Super Saiyan 1, things were a little simple, you were a little strong, and then Super Saiyan 2, you get even stronger, and then Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan 4. That's kind of just where the Kingdom Hearts series kind of has felt like it's been going, where it's more come up with more bad guys that are not that different, and then you just become super strong, you're jumping, flying around. Kind of seems what Kingdom Hearts 3 is going to be, and just Kingdom Hearts 1 was just more simple in terms of the combat, but I guess the kids want the flashy stuff. You want to have something so pretty to look at, you don't even know what you're looking at. It's like the Transformers thing, I guess. And I don't know, it just kind of all melts together. It's hard to say. I mean, in the end, it's just preference. Do you want a button masher that just looks, you know, pretty with a bunch of lights? Or do you want a button masher where occasionally you have to do different things besides button mash, where you have to adventure around, find things, explore? You know, you do things like you go to a town, you restore electricity by casting an electricity spell. You open a door with a fire on it by using fire. You know, it's not super complicated, but you have to think about what you're doing. There's some elements of a little puzzle solving, you know. Kingdom Hearts 2, there's none of that. They direct you. They tell you what to do. You know, every single thing is go do this, go do this, go do this. Even like when you're just sitting there, you know, you're talking to the NPCs. They just say, I think you should do this, Sora. Maybe you should do this. They even have like the characters that can't talk say, I think you should do this. It's just, there's no natural drive to it. There's no, I want to do this. It's all, this guy told me to do this. I guess that's how you go forward. It's just a button mashing game. Some people find that really fun. It's got a lot of people to brag. Like, I beat it on critical mode at level 1. I beat the whole game, you know, and all I did was press square and X. If you don't agree with me, then I don't know how to get to you, man. I don't know. I just, in the end, I'd say, like, if you like pressing buttons, like, in a rhythm to block things and hit things, just play Guitar Hero, I'd say, because that's kind of what that is. But if you think Guitar Hero tells you what to do a little too much, you know, it says press it at this time, and you like to kind of anticipate it, then just play Guitar Hero with, you know, the TV turned off. I think it would kind of be the same. You get the same feeling, because that's kind of what it is. There's no connection. No exploration, just pressing buttons in a sequence, you know. that's kind of it.